You absolutely can't believe it. When you were in college, you bought a girlfriend with money. As long as she was with you, you would help her pay for her grandmother's medical expenses. This poor school beauty followed you, humiliating life for 5 years. You only had one request for her, to use 3 strawberry ultra thin with you every day. But suddenly one day, you seem to have changed into a different person, not forcing her to be intimate, nor stopping her from looking for her childhood sweetheart. Do you know? You woke up and realized that this was a novel world. She was the heroine. Her childhood sweetheart was the hero. And you were a vicious male supporting role. According to the plot, she would soon become successful, and you would end up dying tragically on the street. In order to save yourself, you decided to die first to show her. So, you customized a fake death service for yourself 17 days later. Not long after you finished your business and returned to the villa, Lynn WNEI came back. She walked straight to you and pulled you into the bedroom. Lynn WNEI, wait. Who knew that the next second, you reacted greatly and struggled to pull your hand out of her arms. Lynn WNEI stared at you with eyes as deep as the cold moonlight, as if she didn't understand what you were doing. No, isn't this the condition you bought me for? Not for now. I'm tired recently. You lowered your head and lied, your words unclear. But fortunately, she didn't care, just said lightly, then I'll go busy. Lynn WNEI was indeed very busy during this period. She was preparing for a startup project and it was the most critical period. You didn't keep her, not again, let her go. You thought she would be busy all night tonight. But not long after she received a call and hurried out of the study again. Seeing that you were still in the living room, her footsteps suddenly paused. Since you don't want it tonight, then I'm going out. I have important things to deal with. Looking at the rare eagerness in her indifferent face, you had the answer in your heart. What important thing is just for Jiang Wenzu? But you didn't say anything, just nodded. After getting permission, Lynn WNEI did not stay any longer and passed you by in a hurry. When she walked to the door and was about to push it open to leave, you suddenly called her. Lynn WNEI, actually you don't have to do this in the future. Hearing your voice, Lynn WNEI subconsciously stopped and stood there with a frown waiting for you to finish. But your voice suddenly became silent, after touching her somewhat impatient eyes. You go? In the end, you still didn't say the second half of the sentence, just asked her to leave first. Until her back completely disappeared in the darkness, you spoke again. In fact, you don't have to do this in the future because I will leave soon. As a rich young man in the Beijing circle, you have money, beauty and figure. You have done many absurd things, but the most absurd thing is to buy this girlfriend with money in your freshman year. She is a famous campus belle at Beijing University. Countless boys flocked to her. Every day, people chasing her line up from the school to other schools. But she was cold and indifferent, and rejected everyone equally, and was busy with classes and work every day. You fell in love with Lynn WNEI at first sight, and just wanted to pick this high-ranking flower and take it for yourself. So after learning that her parents had both passed away and she had grown up with her grandmother since she was a child, and her grandmother had been bedridden in recent years, and she was busy working just to pay for her grandmother's medical expenses, you found Lynn WNEI and made a deal with her. You paid for her grandmother's medical expenses and she became your girlfriend, went home on time every day, and had sex with you according to the prescribed number of times until you got tired of it. Her grandmother was seriously ill, and she urgently needed a large sum of money to save this only relative, so she agreed. Now 5 years have passed, and you and Lynn WNEI have graduated from college and started working. But the relationship between you has not changed. Ren Nolan's illness has not been cured, and you are not tired of it, and she still lives in your villa. Her attitude toward you has not changed, and she is still so cold. You are not discouraged, just thinking that as long as time is long enough, you will be able to warm her heart one day. It wasn't until a few days ago when you accidentally fell down the building and hit your head that you woke up unexpectedly and found yourself living in a novel. The heroine is Lynn WNEI. The hero is her childhood sweetheart Jiang Wenzu. And you are just a vicious male supporting role. According to the plot in the novel, the entrepreneurial project that Lynn WNEI is preparing recently will be a great success in 17 days. Lin WNEI will also become a new business upstart because of this project, and later she will rise to the top of the business. And the first thing she did after her success was to give you a large sum of money and break up with you. But you disagreed, and you pestered Lin WNEI. You became jealous after seeing her and Zhang Wen's. You getting closer and closer and made things difficult for Zhang Wenzu many times. In the end, you were completely disgusted by Lin WNE. And ended up with the title of dying tragically on the street. You don't want to believe such a ridiculous thing, and you don't believe that you would do such a stupid thing. But almost everything that happened during this period was in accordance with the plot of the novel, and Lin WNE had left you again and again to find Zhang Wenzu, which made you understand that the hero and the heroine were destined to fall in love. After a whole week of torture, you finally figured it out. You can't gamble with your life. In order to completely get rid of the plot and to change your final ending, you finally made a decision. You can't love her anymore. You have to fake your death and leave here, leave Lin WNEI. Thinking of what will happen in the future, you tossed and turned for a whole night. Lin WNEI didn't come back that night, and you didn't call her to ask about the situation. The next day, you got up early, dismissed all the servants, and then handed a letter to the housekeeper and asked him to pass it to your parents. Because you were afraid that your parents would be too sad after you faked your death and left. You explained clearly in the letter that you were going to fake your death. After arranging everything on your side, you began to arrange things on Lin WNEI's side, and then went to see Grandma Lin with fruits. You don't have the airs of a young master. You come to accompany Grandma Lin whenever you have time over the years. Every time you come, you buy a lot of things for the old lady to make her happy. So compared to Lin WNEI's indifference, Grandma Lin likes you very much. Do you on WNEI plan to get married? When Grandma Lin asked this question again, you didn't show the usual embarrassment on your face, only a bitter smile. How could you get married? Not to mention that you will leave in 17 days. Even if you don't leave, it will probably end up the same as the original book. The person Lin WNEI loves is Zhang Wenzu, so how could she marry you? Seeing that you didn't speak, Grandma Lin couldn't help but sigh, but still comforted you, my granddaughter. I know that WNEI is not without feelings for you, but your original intention to be together is not pure, and she must have a barrier in her heart. As long as this barrier is gone, you will definitely be able to be together well. You listened to Grandma Lin's consolation and forced a smile. You know the plot of the original book, and you also know that the only person Lin WNEI loves from beginning to end is Zhang Wenzu. The heroine only loves the hero. How can she fall in love with the vicious male supporting role? In the end, you still said nothing, nor did you refute Grandma Lin's words, but just took out a card. Grandma, when you have a chance, please pass this card to Lin WNEI for me. This card was originally a startup fund that you prepared to give to Lin WNEI a long time ago. But you were worried that it would hurt her self-esteem, so you have been hesitant about how to give it to her. Now that you have awakened your consciousness and have decided to leave, just let Grandma Lin pass it over. I hope that in this way, Lin WNE, I can think of you a little better, and after you fake your death, she will not do anything excessive to your corpse. Grandma Lin saw that something was wrong with you at a glance, and said with some concern, "Did you and WNEI quarrel again?" You shook your head. "No quarrel, but I will go to a very far place in a while." Before you finished speaking, you were interrupted by a cold voice. "Where are you going to go far away?" You turned your head suddenly and saw Lin WNEI looking at you with a gloomy face behind you, and Zhang Wenzu was standing next to her. You looked away and found an excuse to perfunctorily say, "I'm going to travel in a while," and Lin WNEI's opinion. The two things you like to do most are to sleep with her and to travel around the world. So when she heard your answer, she restrained her expression and did not ask any more questions. She took Zhang Wenzu to sit down beside Grandma Lin's bed and quietly squeezed you to the farthest place. "Grandma, you don't know, Sister WNEI is very stingy. I just wanted to eat an ice cream on the way here, but Sister WNEI didn't buy it for me. You have to talk to her." Zhang Wenzu started to complain as soon as he sat down, pouting and telling about his grievances. Lin Wn, I looked at Zhang Wenzu helplessly. Although what she said was a rebuttal, it revealed her concern for him everywhere. I was talking about that. You forgot about your stomach problem again and dared to eat ice. I don't know who asked me to supervise him when he said he would never eat ice again after his stomach problem last time. Zhang Wenzu smiled and blinked, and there was only doting in her eyes. There were four people present, but when Lin Wn and Zhang Wenzu came over, she could only see him the whole time. You, who were squeezed far away, at the end, looked at the harmonious and natural atmosphere between them and couldn't help laughing at yourself. It's like this again. You will always be the outsider among you, but you are no longer as sad as before. This time you let go of everything. Let go of Lin Wn, and let go of all your love for her, and completely returned her to the male protagonist. Grandma Lin saw the loneliness that flashed in your eyes, and then looked at Lin Wn, I who deliberately ignored you, and sighed secretly in her heart. Wnei, Nan-chan, I want to eat grapes. Can you help me wash some? When Grandma Lin spoke, you and Lin Wn, I would naturally not refuse. She picked up the fruit basket at the bedside and walked out of the ward with you. But just as you stepped out of the door, your hand was grabbed by her. You were still a little surprised that she actually took the initiative to contact you today. The next second, you heard her cold words. Don't come to see Grandma anymore in the future. It's true that I sold myself to you, but my grandma didn't. Just a few words. Your thoughts just now were like a joke. Your heart was slightly bitter. If it was before, you should have explained to her quickly at this time that she was always busy during this period. Grandma Lin was old and diesely lonely. She had no other thoughts, just wanted to accompany Grandma Lin more. But now, you just lowered your head and said, calmly, okay. After saying that, you didn't wait for her and went directly to the water room, unlike before when you had to go with her. Looking at your back as you left, Lin Wn, I felt a little strange in his heart. Since yesterday, everything you did seemed to have changed. After washing the fruit, you and Lin Wn returned to the ward, chatted for a while, and the group prepared to leave. As soon as they walked out of the hospital, Zhang Wenzu spoke first. Wn, mister. It's almost time for dinner. Why don't we go eat together? Lin Wn, I would naturally not refuse Zhang Wenzu's proposal. As for you, perhaps because she didn't want you to act like a young master and embarrass Zhang Wenzu, she agreed to it for you, even opened your mouth. After arriving at the restaurant, you found that all the dishes she ordered were Zhang Wenzu's favorites. Perhaps this is the difference between love and not love. Even though you once asked her to write down all your preferences, one is forced, and the other is attentive, which is a world of difference. Fortunately, you also guessed this result at the beginning, and you were not very disappointed. You just ate your meal in silence and said nothing. Halfway through the meal, a rapid mobile phone ring echoed in the box. Lin Wn walked out with her mobile phone. But you were stunned for a moment when you saw the pinky ring on Zhang Wenzu's hand holding the soup. Where did you get this pinky ring? Zhang Wenzu glanced at the pinky ring on his little finger, seemingly unaware, and replied with a smile. This one was given to me by Sister Wnei. I said it was beautiful, so she gave it to me. As soon as you said this, your face instantly turned ugly. This pinky ring was a gift you personally gave to Lin Wnei on their anniversary of love after you carefully carved it for a long time, scratching your hands. There was also a line of small words engraved inside the pinky ring. Gunan Chan will always love Lin Wnei. You opened your heart and gave her all your love, but she didn't care and gave it to Zhang Wenzu. You inexplicably felt a surge of anger in your heart. But the next moment, the plot in the original book came to your mind again. The person Lin Wnei liked was Zhang Wenzu, so naturally she wouldn't take your gift to heart. If you were to be fussy about these things at this moment, wouldn't it make Lin Wnei hate you even more? You seemed to be poured with a basin of cold water, and you calmed down instantly, restrained your expression and smiled slightly. It looks good. It suits you very well. Zhang Wenzu was waiting for an outburst, but you brought up the matter so calmly, and his eyes flashed with surprise. He gritted his teeth, suddenly stood up, and diligently served you a bowl of soup. Mister, go just bury your head in rice. This seafood soup is good, you try it. You are allergic to seafood, and just want to refuse, but you see that Jiang Wenzu did not hand him the soup, but turned his wrist, and the soup bowl fell to the ground with a pop. He was full of grievances, his eyes were red, and he looked like he was about to cry. Before you could react to what Jiang Wenzu was going to do, Lin Weni, I ran past you like a gust of wind and protected Jiang Wenzu behind him. Then his eyes as cold as ice shot straight at you. Gunin Chen, what are you doing? Jiang Wenzu stood behind her with red eyes, and he spoke at the right time to add fuel to the fire. Sister Weni, it's all my fault. I made Brother Nanchen angry, so Brother Nanchen threw the soup at me in a rage. I was just scalded. It's okay. Don't blame him. I didn't. You heard him confused right and wrong, and you immediately widened your eyes and wanted to explain clearly, but she turned a deaf ear to you, looked at you coldly, and said, Gunan Chen, you are really unreasonable, then pulled Jiang Wenzu away without saying a word. Looking at her cold back in Jiang Wenzu's provocative eyes, you were stunned in place, and your heart sank to the bottom of the valley. What you didn't expect was that in the next 2 days, Jiang Wenzu seemed to find this trick very useful, so he framed you and became addicted. Either he said that you had ruined his job, or that you had ordered the entire industry to ban him, and that you had hired someone to throw paint at his door, making him restless. Lin Weni endured it again and again, but finally couldn't bear it anymore and grabbed you when she got home. Gunin Chen, if you to say, just come to me, why are you targeting Wenzu? After 5 years of dating, Lin Weni's attitude towards me has always been cold. This is the first time I see her showing such emotions, but she is standing up for Jiang Wenzu. You can even buy a girlfriend. What else can't you do? Don't let it happen again. I've given you everything. Why don't you let go of the people around me? After saying this, Lin Weni was full of disappointment, unwilling to say another word to you, and went straight to the guest bedroom. You watched her leave, trying your best to suppress the sadness in your heart. In her heart, you will always be the one she doesn't trust. But apart from sadness, you are more panicked. You will leave in a few days. But if you keep going like this, I'm afraid you will be killed by Lin Weni before the day of your fake death. You tossed and turned in bed in the middle of the night, thinking about it, and finally came up with a solution. That night, you drove to Jiang Wenzu's residence, and the first sentence you said was, Jiang Wenzu, let's make peace. From now on, I will match you and Lin Weni. Hearing this, Jiang Wenzu widened his eyes in disbelief. What nonsense are you talking about? Jiang Wenzu knows better than anyone how much you like Lin Weni. Otherwise, why would you be willing to help her pay for Grandma Lin's medical expenses for 5 years? And why would you follow her without regrets after being rejected by Lin Weni again and again? But now, you actually took the initiative to find him, said you wanted to match him with Lin Weni. There you shook your head. I didn't you were talking nonsense. I am sincere in making peace with you. You don't need to bother to frame me anymore. I don't have much time left. I will leave Lin Weni soon. You don't need to regard me as a love rival. You don't look fake. But Jiang Wenzu still doesn't believe it. He just suspects that there will be some trap. You don't care whether he believes it or not, just take action. The next day, you stopped Lin Weni when she was about to go out and handed her a ticket to Universal Studios. I bought the tickets for Universal Studios tonight. You can go with me. I have been busy with projects recently. She looked cold and was interrupted by you. As soon as she said no, when we made the deal, we said that you can't refuse any of my requests, except Tian Tian. With just a few words, all of Lin Weni's rejections were blocked. She frowned and took the ticket, but her pace of leaving could not help but quicken. Watching her figure gradually disappear, you picked up your phone, found Jiang Wenzu's number, and dialed it. The call was picked up quickly on the other end. No one exchanged pleasantries and you went straight to the point. Did you receive the ticket I just sent? I gave the other ticket to Lin Weni. You should dress up nicely today and improve your relationship with her. Jung Won-soo did not expect that you were really going to match him on Lin WNAI. He said, half-believing lie. When you were about to hang up the phone, he suddenly said, "Why do you want to help me?" The question came into your ears through the phone. You were silent for a moment, and finally did not answer. You don't need to know these, as long as I match you up as we agreed, and you don't frame me again. The call was hung up, and you stared at the gradually darkening screen of the phone in a daze. But in your mind you recalled Jung Won-soo's question just now. Why do you want to help me? You didn't help Jung Won-soo. What you really wanted to help was yourself. Besides, the person Lin WNEI really liked was Jung Won-soo. You just accelerated the original plot and left yourself a way out. When the sky was completely dark, you received a message from Jung Won-soo, which was their photo. In the photo, Jung Won-soo looked at the camera, and Lin WNEI looked at Jung Won-soo. Her eyes were full of tenderness and sweetness, which was an expression you would never see when you were alone together. You have been together for 5 years and you have mentioned countless times that you wanted to take a photo with her, but every time her answer was, "I don't like taking pictures." It turns out that this principle can be broken when facing someone you like. You continue to look through the photos and are attracted by a photo in the middle. The background is in a restaurant, and in front of her are peeled shrimp meat and a pile of shrimp shells. Recalling the years together, every time you eat shrimp, you peel the shrimp meat and put it in her bowl, and she has never peeled it for you. Looking at this warmth that you once dreamed of, you were silent for a long time before editing a line of text and sending it out. Not bad, very compatible. Jung Won-soo always thought that you did these things for other reasons, so you deliberately sent these photos to stimulate you so that you would reveal your true purpose. But your words with blessings made Jung Won-soo realize that he completely couldn't understand you. The other party's typing lighted up for a long time in the chat box. Jung Won-soo revised it countless times before finally sending a sentence. What you said yesterday was true. Do you really plan to match me with Sister WNEI? This time you replied very late, with only one word, yes. From now on, Lin WNEI is his. You thought Lin WNEI would be very happy when she came back today. But when she pushed the door open, she still looked cold, and there was even an unknown anger in her tone. Goon and Chen, what do you mean today? And what do you want to do? You paused, a little puzzled by her attitude, but still explained. You said about the ticket. I couldn't go because of something, so I gave the ticket to Won-soo. After that, you asked eagerly, did you have fun today? Did you ride the couple's Ferris wheel? Did you go to the haunted house? If you didn't have enough fun, I still have tickets, and you can go with him again tomorrow. Lin WNEI couldn't figure out what your purpose was, and stared at you for a long time while you looked at her sincerely, as if you really just couldn't spare the time, so you gave the ticket to her and Jung Won-soo. After a long time, she was the first to give up and went straight into the room. This time the matchmaking was successful. You continued to create various opportunities for them. For example, you asked her to have dinner at a couple's restaurant. But as soon as they sat down, Jung Won-soo walked up to you with a look of surprise on his face. Sister WNEI, what a coincidence. Before she spoke, the waiter came forward at the right time. Sir, miss, this year is the anniversary of our store. You are the 52nd couple to enter the store. Our store will give you a pair of couple rings and take a couple photo for you too. The waiter just finished speaking, and you suddenly stood up. I suddenly feel a little uncomfortable, so I'll go back first. Soon you get up to leave. Lin WNEI hurriedly got up and was about to follow. But you seemed to suddenly remember something and turned to look at Lin WNEI again. This is a good thing. It would be a pity if it was wasted. WNEI, why don't you go with Won-soo? After saying that, you left the restaurant in a hurry without waiting for Lin WNEI's reaction, and drove away quickly, leaving only Lin WNEI standing there in a daze and Jung Won-soo, who was excited and dragged her to get a couple ring and take couple photos together. Another example is that your college classmates held a class reunion, and you insisted on dragging Lin Wnei along. When you went there, you found that Zhang Wenzu was also there. At the end, you took the initiative to push Zhang Wenzu in front of her. It's so late. I'm worried about him going home alone. You drive him home first. I'll take a taxi back. By the way, you don't have to rush back. He drank too much. You stay at his house and take care of him. After saying that, you stuffed the car keys into her hands without saying anything, and walked straight to the roadside to stop a car. After several times like this, Lin Wnei finally found something unusual. During this period of time, she always met Zhang Wenzu on various occasions and at various times. And every time you would leave alone, leaving her and Zhang Wenzu, as if you wanted to push her to Zhang Wenzu. A few days later, Lin Wnei came home drunk after socializing. Seeing you lying on the bed and seemed to have fallen asleep, she went straight to the bathroom without saying a word. When the sound of rushing water sounded, you suddenly opened your eyes, looked back at the closed bathroom door, and quickly took out your mobile phone to find a number. Come to my villa now. 20 minutes later, Zhang Wenzu knocked on the door of the villa. You quietly walked out and opened the door for him, and handed him the satin pajamas you had just found. Put this on and go to sleep in the master bedroom. Zhang Wenzu listened to what you said, and took another look at the pajamas in your hand. He seemed to understand something and felt his heart pounding, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. At your urging again, he came to his senses, hurried upstairs to change into pajamas and lay on the bed. Zhang Wenzu had just laid down for a short time when the bathroom door was suddenly opened. Lin Wnei was wrapped in a bath towel and walked out while wiping her hair. She looked up and her eyes stopped when she saw the figure on the bed. Perhaps she thought that it had been a long time since she fulfilled your original agreement, so she took a few steps forward and hugged him from behind very naturally, with some drunken hoarseness in her voice. My period is over. Zhang Wenzu hadn't realized what this meant when he felt his back sink slightly, and a hot breath hit his neck. A soft, boneless hand suddenly appeared on his waist. The hot body temperature made him tremble and his breathing became rapid. A chuckle came from behind him, and dense kisses fell behind his ears and on the side of his neck. Zhang Wenzu couldn't stand such stimulation and couldn't help but groan. With just one sound, Lin Wnei's movements paused. She suddenly pulled away, her voice full of disbelief. Why is it you? In the living room on the first floor, Lin Wnei sat on the sofa, and Zhang Wenzu sat beside her with a blanket draped over her, his face full of embarrassment. Her eyes fell directly on you. What's going on? You didn't expect her to find out so quickly, and you couldn't help feeling guilty, but you still found an excuse to try to cover it up. Wenzu's home had a power outage, so I asked him to stay here for one night. Then why did he sleep in the master bedroom? Lin Wnei, I obviously didn't believe your reason and continued to ask. You hesitated for a while before replying. The guest bedroom hasn't been cleaned up yet. I thought it was just one night, so I let him sleep in the master bedroom first. She obviously didn't believe your explanation, and tried her best to suppress the anger in her heart and didn't say anything else. She pulled Zhang Wenzu away without saying a word. When Lin Wnei came back, there were only two of you in the room. Lin Wnei, I had long noticed that something was wrong with you during this period. Until this moment she finally couldn't bear it anymore. Gunan-chan, what do you want to do? Have you come up with a new idea to torture us again? Her undisguised words stunned you. You didn't expect her to think so. It felt like someone had hit you hard, painful and dull. I just want. The words of explanation came out of your mouth, but fortunately you regained your sanity in the end and didn't say the second half of the sentence all at once. She continued to ask with a heavy look in her eyes. What do you want? Tell me. After a long silence, you finally spoke again, but did not answer her question. I'm sorry. I thought you would like it. Your apology became the last straw that broke the camel's back, completely igniting the anger in her heart. You're always so self-righteous. She said this coldly, and turned away with a very low mood. You looked at her back as she left, and you vaguely understood something. Yes, she is still yours now. With her character and principles she will not have anything to do with Zhang Wenzu, even if she likes him. Fortunately, everything will be over in 3 days. As the day of departure was approaching, you found all the things related to Lynn Wnei in the villa, threw away some, burned some, and dealt with them all. From the various speeches and debates you collected when she was in college, to the various cup of water cups, slippers, pajamas you bought for Lynn Wnei, and the amulet you asked for her, each item is proof that you like Lynn Wnei. The last thing to burn was the love letter you wrote to her. You threw the love letters into the fire one by one, but your thoughts drifted to the past involuntarily. In fact, you were pursuing Lynn Wnei, and normally at the beginning, I spent a whole 3 months writing 99 love letters, but every love letter ended up being rejected by her. Later, you saw that she was in trouble because of the medical expenses, so you came up with such a solution, which would not only make her accept help, but also fulfill your long-cherished wish. Maybe you really did something wrong. True love can't be bought with money. It was also said in the novel that the heroine Lynn Wnei only loves her hero, Zhang Wenzhou. Thinking of this, you no longer have any nostalgia, and throw the last love letter in your hand into the fire. The door was suddenly open, and Lynn Wnei just came back. At a glance, she saw the colorful envelope that you threw into the fire and burned. She didn't read the contents inside, but she was very familiar with the envelope. It was a love letter that had been sent to her, but she had rejected it. She only felt that her heartbeat suddenly skipped a beat, and the questioning words blurted out without thinking. What are you doing? You looked at Lynn Wnei's stunned face through the blazing fire, feeling a little puzzled, but after a moment you answered her question. Burn things, just burn them if they are useless. Lynn Wnei was a little flustered. She could feel your changes during this period, and she always did some inexplicable things. She obviously didn't want to compete with you, but when she spoke she became unforgiving. Yes, you got what you wanted, so these things are naturally useless. Lynn Wnei had ridiculed you many times before, and you would always be sad every time, but this time you were actually left with only peace in your heart. It will be over soon. This incoherent sentence made Lynn Wnei. I feel that you were a little bit confused, and she didn't know what you were doing. She didn't say any longer, and didn't care about the things you burned, and went straight upstairs to the study. You still sat there motionless, watching the flames burn the last love letter to ashes. Without the support of Combustibus, the flames could no longer be arrogant, and finally annihilated in the dust. Lynn Wnei, from now on, forget this humiliating memory. Forget me, the vicious male partner, and you and I will start a new life again. The next morning, when Lynn Wnei was about to go out, you called her. Tomorrow is the 5th anniversary of our love. I've booked a cruise ship. You can accompany me to watch the sea and the sunset. Always think this way, and hope you don't do anything else this time. Lynn Wnei thought so, and just said him coldly and went out. Perhaps because you were looking forward to it, you felt that the day passed very quickly, and soon it was the agreed day, which was also the day you faked your death and left. You dressed up carefully and took Lynn Wnei to the scheduled cruise. The scenery on the cruise was very good. The afterglow of the sunset spread on the sea and the cruise ship, and the warm orange light sprinkled on your body. The sea and the sky complemented each other to form a beautiful picture. Lynn Wnei looked at the scene in front of her, and a strange look flashed across her eyes. But the next second, such a rare quiet atmosphere was interrupted by a rapid ring. When you looked back at her, she was already holding her mobile phone and talking about work. You know that she is busy with the project at hand, and her project will be launched in a few hours. After the project is launched, it will be a complete explosion. This is a reversal of her life, and also a reversal of your life. Lynn Wnei, if you have money, what will you do? When you opened your mouth, Lynn Wnei, I had already hung up the phone. Hearing her inexplicable question, she just said lightly, do what you want to do. When she said this, there was no extra expression on her face, as if she was just saying it casually. But you looked at her face that never showed you a bit of tenderness, and you couldn't help thinking in your heart, when you become rich, the first thing you have to do is to get rid of me. But Lynn WNEI, I won't bother you to do it this time. The waiters on the deck began to serve the dishes in an orderly manner, and soon the table was full of exquisite food. Only the last half of the sunset was left on the seashore, and you and Lynn WNEI sat opposite each other at the table. You looked at the exquisite food but had no appetite, and she looked at you as always being frugal with words. Until Lynn WNEI's cell phone rang again, breaking the silence between the two of them. The words Wenzu jumped on the screen of the phone, and she was stunned but still answered the phone. The moment the call was connected, Zhang Wenzu's crying voice came through the phone and was clearly heard by the two people present. Sister WNEI, I had a car accident. Can you come to the hospital? Hearing this, Lynn WNEI frowned. She turned to look at you, and you put down the knife and fork in your hand at the right time. I heard it. Do you want to go? She didn't hesitate. The anniversary can be celebrated at any time. Now Wenzu needs me. You didn't say anything, just looked at her calmly. Seeing you like this, her heart beat violently for no reason. She had been terribly calm since she was a child, and this was the first time she felt out of control. So she rarely added, I'll make it up to you next time on the anniversary. After that, she got up with her phone. You watched her panic back and hurriedly got off the cruise ship and did not stop her choice. After a long time, you murmured, Lynn WNEI, there will be no next time for us. You watched the sunset alone, and the last light of the sunset was hidden under the sea, and the lights on the cruise ship gradually lit up. A staff member boarded the cruise ship and walked straight to your side. Mr. Gu, everything is ready. You didn't turn back when you heard the voice, still looking at far away. How will I die? Falling into the sea. The news will spread in an hour, and your body will float on the sea for 3 days and 3 nights before being found and confirmed dead by the police. The staff told you how you died one by one, and you nodded, without any objection. After everything was arranged, you turned and got off the cruise ship, took a last look at the city, and then put on the hat and mask that you had prepared long ago, broke the mobile phone card, and walked toward the airport without looking back. Lynn WNEI, this time I will personally send you to your male protagonist, and I, the vicious male supporting role, will be completely offline from your world. It was 3 days later when Lynn WNEI returned to the villa, with a long-lost smile on her face. Zhang Wenzu's injury improved, and the project she had been busy with for a long time became very popular once it was launched. She could finally enter the upper-class circle on her own, instead of being a poor student who could only rely on selling her body to pay for her grandmother's medical expenses. She had the first money she got from the project's launch in her pocket, and she was ready to return it to you when she saw you later. When the debt between you is settled, she will be able to stand up straight in front of you from now on. But when Lynn WNEI opened the door, the villa was empty and silent. I usually waited for her. Were nowhere to be seen this time. A strange emotion passed through her heart, and for some reason her heart became empty. Thinking of your unusual behavior during this period, she vaguely felt uneasy again. Is this another way you want to torture her? She was not sure, so she took out her mobile phone to send you a message. At this time a piece of news popped up on the homepage of the mobile phone. Recently, the only son of the richest family in CDA, Gu, disappeared. Not long after, a floating corpse appeared on the sea. The police determined that the floating corpse was the young master of the Gu family, and the cause of death has not yet been determined. This short sentence made Lynn WNEI feel like being struck by lightning. She couldn't believe her eyes, but her hand clicked on the news uncontrollably. The photos that could be circulated would not be clear, but she still saw the floating corpse at a glance. She widened her eyes, trying to find evidence that the floating corpse was not you, but the more she looked, the more frightened she became. The floating corpse's body shape and clothing were exactly the same as you when you left. Gu Nanchen is dead. No, she wanted to see it with her own eyes. She hadn't seen your body with her own eyes. She wouldn't believe that you would die like this. Lynn WNEI staggered out, but she was only a few steps away from the gate but her legs were so weak that she almost fell several times. She wanted to drive to the police station by herself, but when she started the car, her hands were shaking so much that she couldn't even hold the key. She could only walk a little further and take a taxi to the police station. The car quickly drove to the door of the police station, and Lynn Wnei was a little timid for a while. She didn't know what she should do if the body was really Gun Chen now. "Miss, we have reached our destination. Why don't you get off the bus?" The driver waited for a while, watching her changing expression in the rearview mirror. In addition to the destination, he thought she had made a mistake and came to surrender. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. How could a good girl end up like this? Lynn Wnei didn't know her psychological changes. When she heard the driver urging her to get out, she suddenly came to her senses and pushed the door to get out of the car. After entering the police station and explaining her purpose, a policeman took her to the place where corpses were stored. When she arrived at the place, she found that she was not the first person to come. Mother Gu's eyes were red and swollen, and she obviously cried. Father Gu was much calmer, but his eyes were also a little red. When they saw someone coming and looked up and saw that it was Lynn Wnei, they felt a little complicated. They had read their son's letter and knew that their son had just faked his death and left here. They still blamed Lynn Wnei in their hearts. If it weren't for her, why would their Nanchen need to fake his death to get away? And the moment Lynn Wnei saw them, her heart completely fell to the bottom. Suddenly, she no longer dared to take a step forward, nor did she dare to look at the body that was so close. Your body was taken to be cremated by Gu's parents, but the urn was hijacked by Lynn Wnei on the way. At first, Gu's parents also went to make a fuss, but she was unwilling to let go. Every argument ended with her saying, "If you want to take the urn, you must die." Lynn Wnei moved out of the villa where you used to live with her. When she was cleaning up, she found that everything in the villa related to your memories had disappeared, in connection with your abnormality during the last period of time. Although your death was finally defined by the police as falling into the sea, she stubbornly believed that your death was not an accident, but was premeditated. That's why you refused to get close to yourself, wanted to push yourself to John Wenzo, and cleaned up the memories related to her. In the bedroom, Lynn Wnei held the urn in her arms, and there were bottles standing or upside down at her feet. There was endless sadness and regret in her eyes, and some ridicule of herself. Gun Chen had clearly shown it from the beginning. Why did she not notice it at all? After taking another sip of strong liquor, the burning pain spread from her body. She reached out and touched the lines on the urn. She closed her eyes, and your smiling face suddenly appeared in front of her. Nanchen, she was immersed in her own world and couldn't extricate herself. The door of the bedroom was suddenly pushed open by a strong force. A light shone into the dark bedroom the moment the door opened. The dazzling light made her squint. Looking up and looking forward, the figure from outside saw the room clearly and stepped on the gap between the bottles to rush to her, trying to take the urn in her arms and help her up. Sister Wnei. The exclamation reminded her who the person in front of her was, but her body had subconsciously moved sideways to avoid his hand and kept the urn firmly in her arms. The alertness in her eyes made Zhang Wenzu feel pain in his heart. But when he saw her haggard face and bloodshot eyes, his voice softened again. Sister Wnei. If you continue like this, something bad will happen. Put the box down first, and let's go to the hospital first, okay? Hearing his voice, her eyes moved, and finally looked at Zhang Wenzu. Her voice was calm, but he heard a hint of questioning in it. You know it too, right? You know that Gu Nanchen had decided to leave a long time ago, but you kept it a secret from her. Zhang Wenzu was stunned by her question, and it took him a long time to realize what she was asking. And his face changed instantly. He looked aggrieved, with a look of how could you think of me like this? Sister Wnei, I really don't know anything. At that time it was Brother Nanchan who came to me and said he wanted to cooperate with me. Cooperation? Lynn Wnei grasped the key point at once, and his cold eyes shot straight at Zhang Wenzu. He had never seen her eyes like that, and he unconsciously loosened his grip on her hand. In the end, under her murderous gaze, He confessed the truth of what happened. At the end, he did not forget to beg for mercy. Sister WNI, I really just love you too much, but I really didn't target him later. Sister WNI, your relationship was originally forced by him, and you don't like him. Now that he is dead, you can finally be free. Shouldn't you be happy? He had just finished speaking when her hand grabbed his neck. Who told you that I don't like him? Zhang Wenzu was frightened and his eyes were red. Tears filled his eyes, instantly. Soon tears as big as beans accumulated and slid down his cheeks and dripped onto her hands, scalding her hands and stiffening them. She quickly pulled her hands back. After a long time, she turned her back to hide the coldness in her eyes. Go away, I don't want to see you again. Lin Wane, I didn't know why her heart would ache when she saw him crying. But she knew very well that she didn't love him. She would never have attacked him just now. But just like she always lost her mind because of him in the past, ignoring you for him again and again, just like she didn't actually have to fight with you every time, but she couldn't help but change her meaning when she said it. She couldn't see her heart clearly, and couldn't control what she said and did. Until you died, the gauze covering her heart was unveiled, and she finally saw her heart clearly, but it was even more difficult to understand what she had done before. At that moment, a sense of false absurdity spread in her heart. In a bar far away from the bustling city of Country Sea, when Gu's parents called again for a huge sum of money, because they were worried that their son would have a hard time living alone in a foreign country, you finally couldn't help but call them. Mom and Dad, I've said it so many times. I'm fine here. You don't have to worry about me, and you don't have to transfer money to me so frequently. You are helpless. 5 years ago, you changed your name to Song Jinyan came here. Your parents were worried that you would not live while you alone, and the most they did over the years was to transfer money to you. You used the money to open a bar near the school with a stable customer base. Every year, a group of customers leave and another group comes. In fact, you have lived a very comfortable life over the years. However, as the number of times they transfer money to you increases, you feel a little uneasy. Although you have been in Country C for these years, you have not given up paying attention to the news in China, so you know how much has happened in China in the past 5 years. Grandma Lin passed away. The day before Lin Wane, I became a new business, upstart, in City A. You regret not being able to see the old lady for the last time. But you still cherish your life more than seeing Grandma Lin for the last time. Lin Wane is indeed very good, just as described in the original book. That is why you have been trying to reduce contact with your parents for the past 5 years. You are worried that she will notice something unusual because of the close contact. If everything returns to the original state, then all your efforts in the past 5 years will be in vain. But I don't know why, according to the original book, she should have expressed her feelings to Zhang Wenzu and confirmed her relationship with him by this time. But the reality is that she has been single for 5 years. I heard that she kept her urn and carried it with her every day. People who didn't know the truth always praised her for her deep affection, but you always felt that she kept the urn for other purposes. Thinking of this, you couldn't help but shudder, and secretly made up your mind to contact China less in the future. Suddenly there was a knock on the bar behind you, and you turned back subconsciously, and bumped into a pair of deep eyes. Boss, give me a margarita. A long-lost and familiar voice, coupled with the facial features that had accompanied you for thousands of days and nights, so familiar that you could feel them with your eyes closed. You just felt your heart skip a beat, and you were stunned for a while. Lin Wane, I raised her eyebrows and called again with a higher voice. You hurriedly hung up the phone call, feeling annoyed. You knew that you had more contact with China, and with her intelligence, she would sooner or later find out that you were not dead. But you didn't expect that she would come so quickly, catching you off guard. You pretended to be calm, pointed to the temporarily closed sign hanging on the transparent partition on one side, and deliberately lowered your voice before speaking. It's closed today. Lin Wane, I chuckled, picked up the sign and showed you the side facing up, revealing the words, "Open for business," on the front of the plaque, with interest in her eyes. If I'm not mistaken, temporarily closed should be shown to customers before accounts. You were stunned, and your eyes followed her hand to the plaque she picked up, only to find that you had forgotten to turn the sign over, and your face immediately showed embarrassment. Then you reached out and grabbed the sign and hung it up again with the temporarily closed side facing up. Now, Miss, Jing-Se is temporarily closed today. If you want to drink, you should go to another store. After issuing the order to leave, you lowered your head and busied yourself. The woman in front of the bar still stood there and refused to leave. Just when you were hesitating whether to speak again, Lin Wnei spoke first. Boss, have we met somewhere before? Your body suddenly froze, and you stopped packing. You felt as if you could hear the sound of your heartbeat that was about to jump out. She had seen your face, but she didn't make a direct conclusion at this moment. I'm afraid it was because she did see the body of Gun and Chen at that time, so she was not sure at this time whether you were really Gun and Chen, or just a stranger with a similar appearance. In this case, you have to stay calm so as not to deepen her suspicion. Thinking of this, you were silent for a long time, and then you laughed without raising your head. Miss, has anyone told you that your way of chatting up people is really rustic? No, I haven't chatted up anyone. Lin Wnei's answer was without any hesitation, as if she was eager to prove something. You were only thinking about how to send her away quickly, but you didn't hear the meaning of her words, and just kept driving her away. Hopelessly, she could only take a step back. Then, boss, will you open the door tomorrow? Seeing that she stopped pressing you, you breathed a sigh of relief. After hesitating for a while, you were afraid that hiding too obviously would make her notice, but if you didn't hide, she would definitely be suspicious of two faces so similar. After thinking about it for a while, you chose a more compromising answer. It depends on my mood. Students are on vacation recently, and there are not many customers coming to Jing-Se. I mean, no. It was obviously a polite refusal, but when it fell into Lin Wnei's ears, it seemed like she heard something hinting, and she spoke on her own. Boss, what do you mean if there are many customers? We will open the door. Hearing her words, you couldn't help it for a long time, looked up and glanced at her, and then quickly looked away. If the lady really wants to drink, there are many bars nearby, and there may be other places, so you don't have to stay in Jing-Se. What happened in the past 5 years? Why did Lin Wnei become so clingy? You hid your curiosity and didn't dare to ask. She still just stood there, waiting for your answer. Only when you nodded helplessly, did she leave with a smile on her face. You really don't understand why she suddenly did this. When you saw her disappear, you took out your phone again and called your parents. The other side quickly picked up the phone. Nan, what's wrong? Is there anything? Lin Wnei found me here. Mom and Dad, what happened in these years? Why do I feel that she has changed a lot? You rubbed your eyebrows, and you felt a headache facing such a situation. Your parents were silent for a while, and then they asked hesitantly why you suddenly said you wanted to fake your death. 5 years later, your parents asked again. You thought about it and didn't hide it. You just told the awakening as a train. At first, your parents didn't agree with you being together, not because Lin Wnei was poor, nor did they think she was not worthy of you. But at that time they had only one thought in their hearts: she didn't love you, and your insistence would eventually suffer. But you were their son who was carefully raised and raised. How could they bear to see the final outcome and let you suffer? It was just that you were too stubborn at that time. Once you had decided on Lin Wnei, you would not let her go. You would not turn back until you hit the wall. Later, you really hit the wall and found that your parents were right. Now their attitude has changed again. Nan Chen, we have watched her step by step to where she is now over the years. We can feel that she likes you. If it is just a dream, why don't you come back? As soon as the mother's voice fell, the father's voice sounded. Yes, Nan Chen, and didn't you also say that she went there? It's been 5 years. Then come back and we will accompany you through this disaster together, okay? In the end, you didn't agree directly. The awakening of the male supporting role does sound too absurd. And it was within your expectation that your parents didn't believe you. As for Lin Wnei loving you, you don't believe it. You have been together for 6 years. If you had felt a little love from Lin Wnei, maybe you would not have chosen that. You chose to fake your death to get out. Now she is not with her destined male protagonist, but chooses to keep your ashes. They say she loves you, but who knows if she will get off track just because of your fake death. And one day she will still get back on track. You tossed and turned all night, and you fell asleep in a daze when the sky got bright. When you woke up again, it was already afternoon. I don't know why you slept so well this time. So well that your memory is like you just woke up from a dream and it's a mess, making you a little confused about what year it is today. You sat on the bed for a long time, and your memory finally returned to its place. When you hurriedly got up and rushed to the bar, Lynn WNE, I was indeed waiting outside the bar. But it was not just her outside the door. There are also some old customers waiting outside the door. Logically speaking, they shouldn't come after you said a few days ago that you might not be open these days, and even if they come, there will only be a few people. But now they are not only here, but also come in such a complete group, gathering around her. You don't need to guess, you know that it must be Lynn WNEI who called them. Lynn WNEI saw you walk in towards this side at a glance, and finally a smile appeared on her gloomy face. She stepped forward, and her tone was quite meaningful. Boss, you were here after all. The moment you saw NWNEI, you suddenly froze for a moment, and the memory you just sorted out became a mess again. A trace of confusion flashed in your eyes, but it returned to normal in the next second. After greeting other guests in turn, you took out the key to open the door. When you pushed the door and walked in, you saw that she immediately followed you again, and you felt an inexplicable irritation in your heart. You have already chosen to leave, making room for her and her childhood sweetheart. Why did she come to you instead of staying in China with Zhang Wenzu? The store soon became lively. While you were mixing the drinks that the customers wanted, you felt a little confused about your behavior and emotions. It was strange that your memory seemed to be confused since Lynn WNEI appeared. At a certain moment, you felt that you were no longer yourself. Fortunately, that feeling did not last long, but in the end you still identified the source of these changes, Lynn WNEI. Sitting at the bar, she asked for the same margarita as yesterday. Margarita is not difficult to mix, and soon you put the mixed drink in front of her. Miss, your drink. She took the glass but did not drink it. She just stared at you and suddenly spoke. My name is Lynn WNEI. Okay, Miss Lynn. You look normal, as if you really didn't know her, and just nodded. The reaction made her gradually lose patience. Before Lynn WNEI came to Country C alone, she had already investigated you. She noticed something was wrong with the Gu family a month ago. Except for the first time she saw the body, she had not seen the heartache of losing their son in them. At first she thought they just hid their grief in their hearts, until she found that there had been a remittance from the Gu family's funds to overseas in the past 5 years. After investigation, she found that the Gu family seemed to be hiding a big secret. Song Jing, Gu Nanchen, the same face, the same body shape, and about the same age. After one disappeared, the other suddenly appeared. If there was only a little similarity, it could be considered a coincidence, but too many similarities together, then there was only the most unlikely answer. She spoke with a firm voice. Nanchen, how long do you want to hide? You looked up at her with confusion in your eyes. Miss Lin, did you recognize the wrong person? My name is Song Jing, of course. You can also call me Bruce. You made up your mind to refuse to admit that you are Gu Nanchen. What can she do to you? Anyway, the identity of Gu Nanchen was really cancelled 5 years ago, and now only Song Jing exists in this world. Lin WNE, I didn't expect you to react like this, and immediately laughed in anger. Song Jing, an orphan without a father or a mother, came to Country C to seek refuge with relatives 5 years ago. However, in the past 5 years, although there is an elder who has a close relationship with you, he is not from Country C and has never even been to Country C, which means that no one has ever seen your so-called relative. And you have been in close contact with the Gu family, the richest family in City A, in private over the years, and a large sum of money is transferred to an account under your name every 6 months. Mr. Song, can you explain these things? Listening to her statement, you couldn't help swallowing your saliva. How could she investigate so carefully? I'm afraid that when you were together, she didn't do it so carefully. How that you have changed your identity and faked your death and left, She has investigated your new identity so carefully. You are angry, and the look you look at her is also a bit impolite. Miss, I have no grudges against you, and we are not relatives. What right do you have to investigate me? Why did I come to Country C? And who did I have contact with? It seems to have nothing to do with you, right? Lynn W.N.E. I was choked by your words and was speechless for a while. After a pause, she remembered another reason. I have received favors from the Gu family. Your behavior is so suspicious, and you took such a large sum of money from the Gu family. I have the right to suspect that you have bad intentions. She thought that this would make you relax, but you just glanced at her in confusion and blocked her words again. Even if I have bad intentions, it should be the Gu family who is looking for trouble with me. It seems that it is not your turn to intervene, right? What identity are you questioning me with? A friend of Aunt Gu and Uncle Gu? Or the sponsor of their deceased son? The four-word sponsor instantly hurt Lynn W.N.E.'s heart, and her eyes suddenly turned red. She pursed her lips tightly and finally looked at you deeply, then turned and left without saying a word. There was a low pressure all over her body, and somehow you could read the loneliness from her back. You opened your mouth. Anyway, hasn't Lynn W.N.E.? I always thought so during the 5 years you were together. You paid her money and she sold her body. She has said this countless times. Why should she pretend to be so pitiful to get your sympathy now? But you also know that since Lynn W.N.E. has found you, she will never give up because of this failure today. It seems that, if you want peace, you have to change places. It's a pity that this bar has been with you for 5 years, but now it has been disrupted because of Lynn W.N.E.'s arrival. You got up and walked to the door. In case Lynn W.N.E. has still refused to give up and waited outside, you didn't plan to go home, but locked the door of the bar before slowly going upstairs. At that moment when you were lying on the bed, you still didn't understand why NWNEI did all this? Just to avenge you for spending money to buy her? But didn't you compensate her later? And this was something she had promised herself, a win-win situation. Even if she hated you, the matter should have been written off at the moment you faked her death. Why did she pursue you so hard? You couldn't figure it out, so you simply stopped thinking about it and fell asleep. Outside the bar, Lynn W.N.E. did not leave as you expected. The car did not stop. She sat in the driver's seat and looked at the steering wheel, feeling bitter. Keeping object in your heart. Is she just a keeping object? The transfer information of Jingsei was sent out the next day, and you didn't keep any of the tools in the bar. It just so happened that the next owner was also planning to open a bar, so you gave them all to the next owner. The speed was so fast that Lynn W.N.E. couldn't help but smack her mouth. She didn't even say when you left. But because of this, she's more and more sure that you're a goon and chain. If you are not guilty, why would you be so anxious to transfer the store and leave? She wants to find you, but you seem to have evaporated from the face of the earth, leaving no trace. You hid in another city and country C, changed your identity, and opened a small bookstore. This time you did not contact your parents again, fearing that Lynn W.N.E. would find you through them. The bookstore's business is not too good, but it can barely make a living. You live a simple and peaceful life every day, and it seems that you have really forgotten everything in the past. However, the peaceful days did not last too long. On this day, you were sorting books in the bookstore as usual, and the doorbell suddenly rang. You subconsciously looked up, but saw the person you least wanted to see, Lynn W.N.E. She was wearing a simple dress, her hair casually draped over her shoulders, but her eyes were staring straight at you, with a persistence that would not give up until she achieved her goal. What do you want? You couldn't help but speak, with a hint of helplessness and irritability in your tone. You understand why she just won't let you go? Lynn W.N.E. didn't say anything, but just walked towards you step by step. She walked in front of you, stopped and looked at you quietly with complicated emotions in her eyes. After a long time, she slowly said, I had been looking for you for a long time. So, what? You turned your head away, not wanting to look at her. It's over between us, you should go back to your life. My life? A life without you, that's not the life I want. Her voice was very light, but it was like a thunder in your ears. You were stunned, turned your head and looked at her in disbelief. trying to find a trace of a joke on her face. Her eyes were so serious that you had to believe what she said. What nonsense are you talking about? You were a little flustered, not knowing how to deal with her sudden confession. I said, I love you always. Her eyes never left your face. I didn't understand my heart before and I always hurt you. When I understood you had already left. I can't live without you, so I must find you. Listening to her words, you felt mixed emotions. Those feelings that were once buried deep in your heart seemed to be stirring again. But you still didn't dare to believe her easily after all. The hurt in the past was too deep. Why should I believe you? You said coldly, trying to use indifference to cover up your inner wavering. Then I looked at you, with a flash of pain in her eyes. She reached out and took out a notebook from her bag and handed it to you. You took it in confusion and opened it. It turned out to be a diary which recorded every bit of your time together, as well as her analysis of her own heart, and the process of her feelings for you from ignorance to clarity. You turned the pages one by one, and the shock in your heart became greater and greater. It turned out that in those days when you thought she didn't care about you, she also experienced so much struggle and pain in her heart. After reading the diary, you looked up at her, and the indifference in your eyes had disappeared a little. I looked at you with a hint of expectation in her eyes. Now, can you believe me? Just when you were hesitating whether to believe her, the door of the bookstore was suddenly knocked open and a man rushed in. You looked closely and found that it was Zhang Wenzu. He looked at Lin Wnei and you with a furious face and shouted, Lin Wnei, you actually abandoned me for this man. How can I not compare to him? The appearance of Zhang Wenzu made this already complicated situation even more chaotic. Lin Wnei looked at Zhang Wenzu with annoyance in her eyes. Wenzu, I never promised to be with you. Don't bother me anymore. Zhang Wenzu turned his head to look at you as if he didn't hear her words, and said viciously, It's all you who took away Sister Wnei. What did you do to her? Faced with Zhang Wenzu's questioning, you didn't know how to answer for a while. But Lin Wnei, I stood in front of you, protecting you behind her, and shouted to Zhang Wenzu, enough. This is all my own decision. It has nothing to do with him. I love him. I always have. Don't be so self-indulgent. After hearing Lin Wnei's words, Zhang Wenzu seemed to have lost all his strength, and he collapsed to the ground. He looked at Lin Wnei, his eyes full of despair. Sister Wnei, how could you do this to me? At this time, you noticed that Zhang Wenzu actually held a knife in his hand. You were shocked. Subconsciously pulled Lin Wnei behind you, and looked at Zhang Wenzu vigilantly. Zhang Wenzu slowly stood up, holding the knife and walked toward you step by step with a distorted expression on his face. Since I can't get it, no one else can. Just when Zhang Wenzu was about to walk in front of you, suddenly, he seemed to be hit by something. His body shook, and the knife in his hand fell to the ground. You and Lin Wnei, I looked at the door in surprise, and saw a man who looked like a policeman standing there with a stun gun in his hand. It turned out that Lin Wnei had just discovered that Zhang Wenzu was following her, so she called the police in advance. Zhang Wenzu was taken away by the police, and the bookstore finally returned to peace. You and Lin Wnei looked at each other, and your heartbeats had not yet calmed down after the thrilling experience. Are you okay? You couldn't help but ask Lin Wnei. She shook her head and looked at you, her eyes full of fear. I'm fine. Fortunately, the police came in time. After the storm, your doubts about Lin Wnei had dissipated a lot. You looked at her, and a warm feeling surged in your heart. Maybe we can start over.